أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعلني وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين ربي إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, inshallah, we're going to continue with the rays, and we are reading the second ray. Basically, the second station of the second ray, and we were stopped at in short, discussing about how do we affirm divine unity, and we went through some stages of first looking at the one aspect of the universe and how everything points, if we question how everything points from their being, from their qualities and their existence, they point to that the qualities don't belong to the things themselves, but they must be coming from some source that is not part of that nature of that being or of the universe. And then we looked at man as well, exhibiting many of the qualities. And we looked at that nature of how the man kind of is also given all those qualities from the same absolute source, which points to, again, the unity in terms of everything is emanating, coming from the one who administers, who is in charge of the whole universe and of man as well. And here we were discussing about assigning, like one cannot assign any partners to the one who must be absolute. And the way the author kind of is approaching this is, again, through the observation of the universe. And the whole observation shows that whoever is in charge must know, must have the knowledge, must have the power, must be willing, must have the will to be giving existence to everything. And everything in the universe testifies to that they don't possess that kind of power, but only the one who knows, the absolute owner, the absolute knowledgeable, must be in charge of all the qualities and perfection that we see in the universe. And I think there was like some example just above this. In short, we discussed about how everything, including the air, light, and heat that we all interact with in the universe, how they manifest all the unrestrictedness. Let me just read the example. For example, if air, light, and heat, and even matter manifested unrestrictedness, they would spread everywhere. Since this aspect of unrestrictedness makes physical and limited things invasive. So even if they are particular, surely true, universal, so universal unrestrictedness would afford such encompassment and pervasiveness to attributes that were both infinite and free of matter and unlimited and free of defect. So even these things that seem to be invasive, air, light, and heat, are under the command of the one who is truly unrestricted. So these things seem to be pervasive and invasive, but they are all limited things. And they're physical limited things that are invasive. But the one who allows this must be an unrestricted one, free of matter, and unlimited and free of defect. Then there could be no possibility whatsoever of their accepting any partners or partnership. So that was a little recap from last time, and inshallah now let's start with the in short. In short, both the sovereignty and the grandeur, and the perfection and the comprehensiveness, and the unrestrictedness, and the infinity of the thousands of general acts, and the hundreds of divine names, whose manifestations are to be seen in the universe, are extremely powerful proofs of divine unity and the affirmation of it. So both the sovereignty and the grandeur and the perfection, the sovereignty, the grandeur, the perfection and the comprehensiveness, and the unrestrictedness, which is the infinity of the thousands of general acts, and the hundreds of divine names, whose manifestations are to be seen in the universe, are extremely powerful proofs. So they all act as powerful proofs of divine unity and the affirmation of it. Also, a superior force wants to overrun its surroundings in order to become activated, scattering other forces. A superior force wants to overrun its surroundings in order to become activated, scattering other forces. Similarly, it is apparent from all the works of dominicality and manifestations of the names of the Godhead that their forces are so extraordinarily overwhelming that if it were not for general sovereignty and absolute justice, which prevent them, they would have overrun all beings. If it were not for general sovereignty and absolute justice, which prevent them, they would have overrun all beings. For example, is it at all possible that the universal power which creates all the poplar trees on the earth and administers them should not take under its control the individual trees like walnut, apple, and apricot, which have become interspersed among the poplars, and not regulate them and dominate them, or that it should hand them over to other forces? Yes, in all species of creatures, and even in each individual, a governing force and power are felt, which clearly have the capacity to overrun the whole universe and subjugate all beings. Yes, in all species of creatures, and even in each individual. So, all species of creatures and in each individual, a governing force and power are felt, which clearly have the capacity to overrun the whole universe and subjugate all beings. Certainly, such a power would not accept partners of any sort, nor permit partnership. So, Fariha, if you have any comments you want to make, or anybody else who wants to make any comments, you can stop me at any time.
So quickly, I think thank you, first of all. The paragraph that you just read, I was thinking, what is the author drawing my attention towards? I know he's saying a lot here, but just briefly what I took away is in terms of just noticing one thing, just like one tree. If I realize how it's coming into existence, that its existence and the existence of its fruit, anything we see around the tree, color, shape points to a source of an absolute source or something out of the nature of this universe, then that applies, or that implies that this conclusion points to all the other trees, not only that specific tree.
Yeah.
Where every tree, its fruits, nuts, whatever, are subjugated to this order that we observe. So I know we're talking about not associating partners with the source of existence, not of the nature of this universe. So in order to stick with that ground, I need to be vigilant that if I can just find one particle that is acting on its own, then it just breaks down all my conclusion for everything else. So if I conclude that one particle is coming to existence by an absolute source, it means everything, even the fruit or anything I observe, the existence of it points to an absolute source. Otherwise, I'll fall into associating partnership with God.
Yeah, thank you for the, and even, for example, the author uses, is it at all possible? That the one who creates, as based on the example that the author is using, and you pointed out the example about the one who makes all the poplar trees, right, or the whole universe, let's say, and then leaves it for something else to administer the individual. Let's say somebody else administers the seas or the forest, and somebody else administers the atmosphere. Is it all possible? The one who, and here, at least the author is making the point or the argument, and hey, look at it and see, even the most superior force is that you can see in the universe. If it were not for generals, it cannot basically overrun anything. It's always within the restricted or limitedness of the universe. So there is this unrestrictedness of this absolute being, right? So because this broader section is this, the unrestrictedness, comprehensiveness, and infinity of this. So whatever we see in the universe, and so someone has to wonder at it, can this be, or can this happen, that is this happening by something else, or is it the same source, that unlimited, basically the definition of what unrestricted or infinite pertains to? So is it at all possible that infinite is by definition is infinite? So it does not even, one cannot even entertain that idea of the possibility of any other thing to take any act or play in terms of regulating any aspect of the creation.
So if you're saying, if I assimilate this idea of the source being unrestricted in its act, then just assimilating that within me, I should be like on the right way. However, I'm thinking, how do I conclude the unrestrictedness part of the source? Is it through observation that, oh yeah, this source that I conclude to be absolute, it's unrestricted in its act of creation?
Brother Ali, go ahead. Brother Ali, your mic is unmuted.
Yep, thank you. Now, both of you just really touched upon the most essential part of the first paragraph, and in extension into the second paragraph. Oh, we have to understand this. The text says, what we see in this world, there's something, a sovereignty, a grandeur. I don't know who sees for the moment, but there's something, perfection. There is something. What is that? What happened? What is happening in the world? a comprehensive act, a comprehensive act. But the text doesn't say the creator has a comprehensive act. No, no, starts from what we observe from here. A comprehensive act. And the unrestrictedness, there is no limit. We cannot get to the limit. But why it is unrestricted? Because of this continuous change with no interruption, no interperson, anything. And the infinite of thousands of unrestricted, infinity of thousands of endless activities at the same time taking place in this world. And another thing is the very important concept here that we need to pay attention, the hundreds of divine names, maybe thousands, maybe endless, but obvious ones are, it means in the creation there are countless qualities are being manifested at the same time. At the same time, it is extremely important, not gradually, at the same time. Countless qualities in any act of creation. But of course, it needs a very, very delicate reflection if you go to investigate what is going on in the structure of the atom and particle, but see something in the world. Take a bird, take an animal, from a cat, or very practical things, and even a bug, anything, any animal moving around. Look at them. For example, let's take an ant. There is life. There is creation, existence. There is life. There is shape. There are there is perfect order, perfect balance, measurement, perfect measurement, decoration, and also the ability to see, ability to hear, ability to defend, ability to eat, ability to multiply their generation. All of them are given at the same time, even one act. This is what we should understand. The endless names, qualities are manifested there. But why divine? Because these qualities cannot be in no way attributed to any matter. Matter itself doesn't have any quality from itself. They are given, they exist as they are given. So they must be something not belonging to matter. That's why, by definition, it is called something beyond the capacity of the universe is divine. Or what we should understand from divine means something which cannot be put or squeezed into the capacity of the universe. You cannot be seen within the capacity of the universe. It is something beyond the capacity of the universe, divine. And all these qualities, I just numbered them, and comprehensiveness, you mentioned this as well. Unrestrictedness and infinity of the thousands of acts everywhere, general acts, as Feriha mentioned. There is one tree, but the tree is everywhere. And that particular tree is everywhere. And also, there are other kinds of trees also, different qualities. But they exist at the same time. And endless divine qualities manifested in this world. And this sovereignty, this grandeur, this perfection can only belong to an absolute being which cannot be defined within the conditions of this universe. That is why the definition of absoluteness comes from nothing to do with the capacity of this universe. That is the conclusion. And it says it demonstrates that if the source must be of logical conclusion, absolute, it must be one. It must be unique. It must be unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Okay, let's continue reading unless anybody has any comment. So we can take that. Okay, so next paragraph. Also for the, that's the paragraph, right? Also for the owner of a fruit-bearing tree, the matter of greatest importance is the fruit at the tips of the tree's branches, and for future planting, the seeds in the hearts of its fruits. Rather, that are the hearts of its fruits. For the owner of a fruit-bearing tree, the matter of greatest importance is the fruit at the tip of the tree's branches, and for future planting, the seeds in the hearts of its fruits. Rather, that are the hearts of its fruits. If the tree's owner has any sense, he will not make his ownership go for nothing by handing over the fruits to someone else. Yep. In exactly the same way, the elements, which are the branches of the tree, called the universe, and the plants and animals, which are at the tips of the elements, and are like the flowers and leaves of the tree, and human beings, which are the topmost of the leaves and flowers. Yes. So the elements, which are the branches of the tree called the universe, and the plants and animals, which are at the tips of the elements and are like the flowers and leaves of the tree, and human beings, which are the topmost of the leaves and flowers. The owner of the tree would in no way hand over to other forces the worship and thanks of those fruits, which are their most important fruits and the result of their creation, and especially their hearts, the all-encompassing seeds of the fruits, and their faculties of memory, which are known as the outer heart, so negating the sovereignty of his dominicality and canceling also his fitness to be worshipped. So this is another example of if somebody who owns a garden or a farm, why the farm or the garden is basically to reap the benefits of the fruits and also have the seeds to grow for continuous basically growth of, have the same variety coming, and they would in no way, be willing to hand over that responsibility to or give it to someone else. So in the same way, because it's a small farm, it's just as an analogy, it makes sense. And then the analogy is how the universe is like that big tree, and the plants and animals as their leaves, and the human beings as the fruit of that tree of the universe. And interesting how the author brings in the worship and thanks of those fruits. The worship and thanks of those fruits, which are their most important fruits and the result of their creation.
Wait, why would the owner of a garden, sorry to interrupt you,
Go ahead, please.
why would the owner of a garden not want to hand in over his his fruits to some, like the authority of his fruits to someone else? Starting from the analogy of this new paragraph you read. So for the owner of a fruit-bearing tree, the matter of greatest importance is the fruit at the tips of the tree's branches, and for future planting, the seeds in the heart of its fruits rather than are the hearts of its fruits. The seeds in the heart of its fruits rather than are the hearts of its fruits. If the tree's owner has any, I don't know this.
Yeah, so let's maybe take another example. For example, if you ask me to make a lesson plan or something, and this is something that has to deal with your particular field or area. And that's the fruit of that's like something very important to you.
Okay.
Would you let somebody else do that work for you? Like, hey, this is the thing I have to work on. This is something very important to me. I cannot let anybody else mess it up or let it go to waste. Right. So in that sense, you would just do it, take that responsibility and do it for yourself.
I'll hire you.
So I understand that in that way.
Yeah. I'll hire you to help me out.
Yeah, you can hire me, but you won't give me like the total, this is our worldly kind of
ownership. Okay.
Work way, right? We hire people. But the thing is, if I deem something really important, for example, if I'm doing something and I say, hey, I don't think I can let this because I feel this may go to waste, but this is really something really important. I would make sure that it is done by me.
Okay, so similarly, I understand this.
But let's see, is there
similarly, the owner of the universe won't hand over something. What does that mean?
So it means the importance of the human being as the fruit of the universe. Basically, how important. The analogy is just like the tree in the garden, and there's a purpose for you to have the garden, is to have the fruit, which is the most important benefit that you get from the garden. Right? You're not gonna get the leaves, or maybe you'll use it, but the fruit is the most sweetest and the most important. And you want to make sure that, hey, after you finish the fruit, you still have the seeds so that you can grow more of the fruit. Yeah, so the fruit becomes the most important.
Okay.
So in the same way, if you look at the universe as that tree, and the human being as that fruit, it means the human being becomes the most important aspect of the creation of the universe.
So human being is like the fruit.
Yeah.
But that's great. That makes me feel very good. But what is it? Oh, so pretty much it's telling me that the owner of the universe created the human being as the most important fruit.
He would not leave somebody else to take in charge of the fruit, because it's very important to me. So the human being is like the fruit, which is very important to take care of.
Oh, wow.
There's special attention being given and special qualities: mercy, compassion, generosity, providence. Everything is being given to the human being as the fruit of the universe.
Oh, thank you so much, Alhamdulillah. That helps very much.
No, inshallah. And I see Brother Adam has a comment, and maybe he wants to talk on this. Does this mean that the one who has made man has a special concern? Yeah, that's what I think we were discussing. But would you like to add anything?
Thank you. I see Brother Ali's hands up, but no, I don't have anything much else. Although I think the issue is not just the special concern, but kind of arguing this point about how it wouldn't be left to others. So yeah, one side concern, but also not allowing for the hearts and the human beings to be settled with others other than the in this parable, the farmer or the tree grower. So out of all the things that tree grower may be involved in, that wouldn't leave the seeds. So that would be his special domain, and not where he would allow for any others to be involved. Likewise, for us, not allowing for anyone else to be involved. So it's concern on one side, but also arguing, I think, that maybe they're one of the same two sides of the 2 points of the same thing, 2 sides of the same thing, but saying that this is not the place where there would be an allowance for anything else.
Thank you, Adam. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Thank you. The way the text presents the case, which Feriha started off, it is a very important point. What does it mean really? Not let the human beings worship anyone but him. As if the text sounds as if whatever the author of the text means by the creator is jealous something. He wouldn't really give any sign that something else has the power. It scatters other forces, as if there are other forces and the emperor comes and smashes them down. And also he doesn't really want to, but he doesn't really handle over the fruits to someone else, as if there are somebody else out there. And also other forces in the following paragraph, hand over to other forces to worship and thanks, etc. And these I understood from these expressions that not because there are some other forces, then he eliminates it, and there are some people who deserve, somebody else who deserve to be worshipped, but the super God eliminates it, scatters them away, and there are some other objects of worship, but God doesn't let them. No. The forces, objects of worship. No, don't worship them. Only worship for me. Something like that. But very simple is simply what I understand from all this. In the creation, there is such a sovereignty that there is such a grandeur power over manifesting itself all over the universe. And there is no sign, no way for a conscious being to see that there are other sources, there are other things, that human beings may attribute their existence to the human beings are the fruit of the universe in his analogy. So their existence to another thing, another force, so that human beings may think that they also have some right to be worshipped. The creation is so perfect in every aspect that there is no sign in the creation, acts of creation, that conscious human beings may think that it may also have some sort of the other things, may also have some part in the acts of creation, some quality they may exercise in order to take a share in the acts of the creation. Everything with no exception, subject to his overall order of the universe, the rules of the creation, everything with no exception whatsoever must be attributed to an absolute being. You cannot say that God created the heavens, God created the earth, but there are some things on earth making small work. And as we think that, oh, okay, God created everything, but I created the car, I created the house. I created something, a poem, for example. Or I am the creator of my own work, this kind of things. There is no way that a human being use his consciousness, use his human qualities with no bias, that we are and nothing else can be the source of existence of anything. That means we have to think about the purpose of the universe, which are mentioned by all of you. And the text also says the universe, as far as human beings are concerned, gives the fruit of human being. Every human being is able to comprehend all the qualities manifested in the universe and attribute his existence to the owner of these qualities because he can comprehend them. Like the fruit of a tree, the seed in the fruit comprehends, includes all the qualities of the tree. And human beings are created in such a way that we can comprehend all the qualities manifested in the universe. We can communicate with it. And is there any way, I would like to read the text in this way, is there any way for the creator of the universe to give existence to something which may seem to to have some sort of quality to share in creating something? No way. No one can claim that I am giving existence to one cell of my brain. No one can say that. I am giving existence to control my memory. No one can say that. If he is given the opportunity to remember, he can remember. That's why we get aged and we understand that, it is not me who's remembering the things as we get aged, as I am experiencing now. It is not me who remembers the things. It wasn't. I didn't know. I thought I did. It was wrong. It was because I cannot control myself. How can I claim that I am the source of existence of my memory? I am the source of existence of my qualities. They are all taken gradually, one by one, from my possession. I cannot stop it. It means the creator is from the beginning to the end, everywhere, time-wise, space-wise, everywhere. As the Quran says about Satan, who represents the all false imaginations that is possible for human beings. Satan. So this Satan is not given any authority. It means they are not given anything that he can claim that.
Huh? Yeah, it's a good point what Brother Ali is mentioning. Even this faculty of memory, I've been pondering over it lately. And so anything that we experience is just to make us realize it's not mine to begin with. And yeah, it's like if something is even brought to mind, sometimes we reminisce about some great events in the past, but it's just brought into existence as memory. And even though, I forgot, where was that? Obviously, memory is not as sharp as it used to be as we're aging, and we can all experience that. So it makes us realize that it's, it was not mine to begin with. So that's a good reminder. And And it also helps us not owning anything, and for feelings and anything that we think is ours. And another interest, I don't know if it's done. I think Brother Ali's done.
Yeah, I don't know. So you want to continue?
Yeah, another interesting point that Brother Ali shared was that whoever is bringing this whole universe into existence, would it be possible for such a one to create,
To give the qualities of any quality.
like deity qualities to anything of this
Yeah.
universe? Then that would defeat the purpose of unrestrictedness, sovereignty, ownership over this whole dominion over the universe.
Yes, every quality we experience in the universe, including the memory, as the example was being given, we think it's our quality of memory. But that is given, just like all other qualities that we experience, or the one we may think that belongs to either something or us. But every single quality, thousands of qualities, don't belong to those things themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's where probably the satanic idea, I think we'll let Brother Ali continue what he was saying, but I think that's what probably he was hinting at. So Brother Ali, if you're back, I don't know, you can continue your point you were making.
Satan giving us all false ideas and imaginations.
He might still be busy, but if anybody else wants to say anything or have any comments on that, we welcome that as well.
So all false interpretations I have, all false ideas, they're are there. They come in, entertain my thoughts to help me make the right decisions.
Yeah, I know, Adam, you had that question about if Brother Ali finished that comment. I don't know if you would like to say anything before Brother Ali continues.
No, I was just waiting to hear what he was saying. I didn't understand it. I didn't know he had to go away. I thought something else happened. So it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, inshallah, no worries. So Brother Ali, whenever you're back, please let us know. Maybe let me can you put that in the chat? If Brother Ali's back, he can just let us know. Okay. Inshallah. Thank you. So we'll continue with the paragraph. Also, since the aims of dominicality are centered in the particulars at the extremities of the sphere of contingency and multiplicity, the aims of dominicality are centered in the particulars at the extremities of the sphere of contingency and multiplicity, and even in the states and circumstances of those particulars. And since they are the source of the thanks, gratitude, and worship, which are extended and look to the one true object of worship, for sure, he would not hand them over to others and so nullify his wisdom. And by nullifying his wisdom, annul his Godhead. For sure, he would not hand them over to others and so nullify his wisdom. And by nullifying his wisdom, annul his Godhead. For the most important dominical aim in the creation of beings is to make himself known to conscious beings, and loved and praised and extolled, and to attract their gratitude to himself.
Interesting.
So yeah, let me read this again. Since the aims of dominicality are centered in the particulars at the extremities of the sphere of contingency and multiplicity, and even in the states and circumstances of those particulars, and since they are the source of the thanks, gratitude, and worship, which are extended and look to the one true object of worship. For sure, he would not hand them over to others and so nullify his wisdom. And by nullifying his wisdom, annul his Godhead. For the most important dominical aim in the creation of beings is to make himself known to conscious beings, and loved and praised and extolled, and to attract their gratitude to himself.
Yeah. May I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so when you read it the second time, something got imparted onto me. It's, let's say there's a tree and it bears fruit. And I'm so grateful for this tree because every spring I get some kind of fruit in there.
Sweet. Yeah.
And so my praise can really go, although I know the tree is created, the fruit is created, but in this state of gratefulness, it can totally go to the tree in terms of, oh my God, I'll protect it, nobody bothers it and everything. So it can really, really much, I can be inclined to thanking, or even in my communication or talk, I can say, that's it's the tree. But yeah, the tree is created, but thank to this tree that I'm, harvesting all this.
Yeah.
And so that was like the first part.
It's a good example, yeah.
Yeah, so the first part where I'm still not clear what the author means by, since the aims of dominicality are centered in the particulars at the extremities of the sphere of contingency and multiplicity. So perhaps.
So if we look at the particular fruit of the tree, that's a particular thing. There's an act going on, the qualities of that fruit, there's something going on, and the qualities of the fruit do not come from the fruit themselves. So they are contingent or dependent. And there are multiplicity, all those qualities, everything is spread out. So in this sphere of the sphere of contingency and multiplicity is this universe. So everything is being seen in this universe. And then he says the aims of dominicality. So what is the aim? What is the purpose of all these qualities being manifested, all spread all across the universe? And it goes to and even the states of purgatory. And since they are the source of so for the example, your example of the fruit from the tree is one of the means to offer thanks, gratitude, and worship, which, as you said, rightfully said, that it can go to the tree, or it can go to the extended to the one true object of worship, the one who is responsible for all those qualities. For sure, he would not hand them over to others and so nullify his wisdom. So the quality of wisdom, if you give it to the tree, then it goes to the wisdom is from the tree. Is it from the tree? Or so it nullifies the quality of wisdom to the true source of wisdom.
Good point.
That's what I took away. And just checking if Brother Lee's back. Brother Lee, please indicate if you're back. Yeah, you want to say something?
Well, and there is a really good point the author mentions. For the most important dominical aim in creation of beings is to make himself known to conscious beings and loved and praised and extolled and to attract their gratitude to himself. As if it is telling us also our pretty much responsibility here is to recognize the true owner of anything that we experience. And I think that's a very good news, at least that anything that we experience. So in the example of the tree, so the tree, like you said, that the tree is a means for us to recognize all sorts of qualities that are manifested in it. And that's how the owner of the tree makes himself known to conscious beings and loved and praised and extolled and attract their gratitude to himself. So just finishing up.
Thank you. No, that makes, yeah, that's good. Anybody else would like to comment? What is the nullifying of wisdom? Or what is the wisdom that would be nullified?
I think it goes back to...
So that's the question. And then I think the example, what I took away from what Faria was talking about, when you pick up the fruit from the tree and you see that. 1 second, please, hold on. Okay, continuing. So the example that Faria gave about the fruit from the tree, and there are different qualities on the fruit that we can see. And if we attribute any of those qualities to the thing themselves, or if we say, hey, this fruit is, amazing, it's given this quality of beauty, it's coming from the fruit itself. The taste is coming from the fruit itself, although it may seem that way, but can the quality be attributed to that? So in the same way, the one who made the fruit is, shows the sign of power, wisdom, knowledge. And if the attribution of all these qualities goes to the thing itself, then that in a way nullifies the actual wisdom, the true owner, the one who owns this wisdom or all those qualities. So that would, because now the partner is being given, in terms of the fruit or the tree, is getting that a share of those qualities.
So in other words, what is the nullifying of wisdom? The nullifying of wisdom
nullifying
means,
his wisdom, yeah.
Yeah, like what I experience wisdom here, I observe wisdom, but this wisdom points to an absolute wisdom. And so
right.
The one who by definition is absolute cannot be associated, like you said, with something of this new universe. And so if I am attributing wisdom to, just in the example of the tree, to the tree itself, then that nullifies absolute wisdom by definition, or that would nullify absolute sovereignty or dominicality by definition, or the unrestrictedness of this absolute source. I'm not sure if that...
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the last sentence of the previous paragraph also makes a point on, when he says canceling also his fitness to be worshipped. So what are we actually worshiping? If the qualities, are being attributed to the things themselves, then basically is in a way worshiping those qualities rather than the one that must be worshipped based on the the qualities, the rightful owner of those qualities?
This is actually a serious matter.
Okay, you're right, actually.
Nullify his wisdom, and by nullifying his wisdom, annul his Godhead, is that then I'm taking the attitude of there's no source of existence in the universe if I fall into this sort of I would say like emotional mindset, because I know last week we said that the author is speaking to the emotion side of the human being now, and so that's just going to be pain and torture for me, not having any source of existence, not of the nature of this universe to attribute anything to, then that's I think that's a serious matter now, even though we look into the wordings, how the author is using, and the point also that you brought up about the last sentence and canceling also his fitness to be worshipped, as in, what is my object of worship at the end of the day?
Right, yeah. What am I worshiping? I mean, these are subtle kind of worships.
Right, like what fits my what do you say, my need to be worshipped, like what fits this need that I have to worship something. All right, good one. I mean, let's check in with people now.
Anybody else would like to comment, share anything? Adam, would you like to add anything? Sorry to pick on you, Adam, because you're the only active participant right now.
That's okay. But no, I think that's good. I was thinking about it, and I got a little distracted from some other things. But as I was thinking about it, the nullifying of his wisdom, since the source of the thanks, gratitude, and worship, which are extended and look to the one true object of worship, sure he would not hand them over to others and so nullify his wisdom. And by nullifying his wisdom, annul his Godhead. Well, I have a question about what does that mean to annul his Godhead, as opposed to annul his the oneness, or some other word. I'm trying to understand this word. And this notion of nullifying the wisdom, I thought it was at first, as I was reading it, it was since it was going from the broader sphere, right? Saying when it started out saying that the aims of dominicality are centered in the particulars at the extremities of the sphere of contingency and multiplicity. So the emphasis is not on the middle, but it's on the extremities. If I understood that correctly, like the fruits on the edges of the branches. So, and even in the states and circumstances of those particulars, and since they are the source of the thanks, gratitude, and worship, which are extended and look to the one true object of worship, for sure he would not hand them over to others to nullify his wisdom. I thought the wisdom here was also maybe referring to the whole wisdom of the tree. For example, so it would be like, maybe this was already stated, but it would be a kind of like antithetical or kind of negation of even all the existence of the things. So if you give one part at the edge or area of particulars, meaning human beings, and there you don't make the emphasis. Sorry, there's some background noise. Okay, Mama, just so as though the wisdom is not at the level of creating the fruit, but the whole tree, including the fruit. That's what I thought the wisdom would be referred to, and then thereby annul his Godhead across all the spheres of the tree. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, towards the end, I got a little lost what you were saying, the point you were making. Maybe if you can repeat that.
Right. So as it starts out, saying the emphasis is on the extremities of the sphere of contingency. So in the metaphor of a tree, the aims are centered at the fruits, at the flowers, let's say, of the tree. Right. That's where the ultimate aims of dominicality, let's say, are centered. But in order for the flowers to exist and the fruits to exist, the whole tree should exist. All the aspects that allow for the flower to bloom and the fruits to come into fruition, right? They all must exist. So the wisdom exists in all spheres or all levels of the tree, right? Not just at the fruit or at the flower level. So, or like at this universe, there's wisdom across all the levels of the universe. It's more so seen at the level of beings, right? Like human beings, of course, but even of other kinds of beings. So the whole universe has wisdom, and if in the sphere of the particulars, or at the level of the particulars, there is a handing over of the qualities to other than this one, then that would, in a sense, negate the wisdom of the whole universe. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else would like to comment or say anything? So as you said, like from the broader sphere to the particular, everything basically is contingent. Although at the experiential level, everything that we interact with is more visible and more apparent in the particularity of the things. So that's why the fruit is more, someone would question and interact more with the fruit, and the tree, or the bigger, the broader aspect, although it's part of it. I see your point also there. That is also everything in the universe as a whole shows the sign of wisdom. So if you point the wisdom to any one particular thing, or even at the broader level, it nullifies the whole quality of wisdom to be basically a created thing to the universe or to the particular thing. That's what I took away from Adam's comment. And Adam, you can correct me because.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it would contradict the whole wisdom and everything, because the purpose for the existence of the things is to emphasize or to focus on dominicality, right? Or this oneness, to not, if that is not there, then the whole wisdom is also, then the wisdom or the purpose of the things are put into question. So if someone says, well, okay, fine, over there's God, but then here in this smaller particular area of human beings or certain beings, there's not. You can refer their existence to something else. It puts into question or a negation of all the things, meaning that you cannot separate the two. So it's, if you say in the sphere of human beings, which are of the highest aim, that's where there can be something attributed to other than God, other than this absolute one, then you have a problem for everything else. So yeah, I think we're on the same page. But I'm just wondering what this annul his Godhead means. So what of his wisdom would it nullify? All the wisdom of the existence of the things. Oh, that's what I was that's what I came up with, is his wisdom of nullifying his wisdom amongst all the beings, all the things. So if there's any wisdom in the creation of, let's say, not just a being, but let's say air, or let's say, I don't know, some light, or let's say, I don't know, some other particle that's moving in a wise form, apparently looks to be, it's moving, but of course it's not moving. It's being ordered in a very meaningful way. Yeah, so there's wisdom there. Let's say like we say, or what they say usually about things in heaven, in the skies, heavens, I mean the skies. They say that's there's everything is moving and ordered, in a wise way or something like this. But down here, or where we are at the level of us in the world, we are, there's another level of source of existence. We are the source of existence. That is the source of existence. This is the source of existence here. But up there, or at the broader level, he's taking care of everything. So this is what I understood, but you can tell me what you think. But my understanding, this is related to the particulars on the extremities of sphere of contingency, as it says there in the text, meaning the human beings, right? And that's where the aims of dominicality are most centered. So if you try to put something other than this one true object of worship for anything within the realm of the these particulars, meaning human beings, meaning the other beings here, then you in effect are putting into question all of the wisdom throughout the whole universe, because the aim of the universe, the point of the universe, is to focus on his oneness. So if you're not focusing on his oneness in the sphere of the human beings, then it's as though nullifying it across all the wisdom, all the things are then, in a sense, any kind of wisdom would be nullified. I don't know if maybe I'm starting to sound confusing now, but I'll
that makes sense. Thank you, Adam. So, and about the Godhead, I think everything relates to that basically. So every quality is also a sign of his Godhead. So if one quality is being given to something else, as you said, that nullifies pretty much every other sign of wisdom in other things that you see, is also like one would question that. And with wisdom comes the Godhead aspect. So whoever owns this, to whom belongs this absolute wisdom, must have that Godhead, or must be the absolute source. So even one quality goes to something else, then that is nullifying his whole absoluteness. And if you guys have any other comment, please take it, go ahead. If not, I will continue with the next paragraph, inshallah. It is because of this subtle mystery that in order to demonstrate that the bounties and acts, universal and particular, the bounties and acts, universal and particular, at the extremities of the sphere of multiplicity, like sustenance, healing, and particularly guidance and belief, which result in thanks, worship, gratitude, love, praise, and worship are directly the works, bounties, gifts, and acts of the universe's creator, the monarch of all beings. The Quran of miraculous exposition repeatedly ascribes sustenance, guidance, and healing to the necessarily existent one, stating that the bestowal of them is his alone and restricted to him, and strongly rejecting the interference of others. And there is a verse from the Quran that is referenced here. God is the provider, the firm possessor of strength. Quran chapter 51, verse 58. God is the provider, the firm possessor of strength. So just like the universe, looking at the universal in particular at the extremity of the sphere of multiplicity. So the universe also shows the signs of sustenance, healing, and guidance and belief. That's interesting how he talks about, guidance and belief coming from the universe and the observation. That in order to demonstrate that the bounties and acts that you observe in the universe, because one has to attribute all the interaction with the qualities to something. So there is that aspect of worship and love and gratitude and praise, and so it has to go to its rightful owner, are directly the works, bounties, gifts, and acts of the universe's creator. So everything is actually the work of the universe's creator, the monarch of all beings. And the Quran as well mentions the same thing, where it says all the sustenance that you observe in the universe, so you can cross-check and verify with the universe. You can go back to the scripture and go back to the universe, and the universe you can go back to the scripture. The sustenance, guidance, and healing to the necessarily existent one, stating that the bestowal of them is his alone and restricted to him. So if it's his alone, so it rejects the interference of others. So this is interesting, the last phrase, like, yes, the one who bestows the bounty of belief, which wins for a person an abode of bliss. The one who bestows the bounty of belief, which wins for a person an abode of bliss, can surely only be the one who creates the abode of bliss and makes belief the key to it. So the belief is like opens the door of bliss.
Can I bring you?
Yes, please, go ahead. I would love to hear.
So this is interesting that you mentioned how, in my observation of the universe, I see things in terms of how it makes me want to offer thanks, gratitude, and so on. And you said that, particularly guidance and belief, you thought that was interesting. Can you shed some light in terms of what you mean by that again? And then you said, because later on, if you were to confirm this guidance and belief, it does conform with what the Quran also mentions. So what's this particularly guidance and belief you were referring to? Sorry.
So the guidance and belief is what prompts one to worship.
In my observation of the universe. Mm-hmm.
That's the first step, the observation of the universe, because we are always observing the universe. Mm-hmm. So your question is why I said guidance and belief, because that took my attention as well, right? So the way I understood it is with those, all looking at all those acts and seeing, interacting with all those qualities, one has to attribute them somewhere.
Okay.
You assign those. Hey, I experienced healing. What do I assign that? The sustenance I'm getting, what do I assign that sustenance to? So that is what makes guidance and belief, because as a result of what we assign to, we start worshiping that thing, which result in thanks, worship, gratitude, love, praise. And I think this sentence kind of is a running sentence, so there should be a full stop somewhere, but he says that is worship. Praise, love, praise, and worship are directly the works, bounties, gifts, and acts of the universe's creator, the monarch of all beings, the Quran of miraculous exposition. Yeah, here also, I think I would have stopped here and I would say the Quran of miraculous exposition repeatedly ascribes sustenance. This is a very long sentence with like many things.
So what I understand from what you said is that I have a need to assign qualities to something after my observation of the universe. There's a need in me.
There's a need
wanting to assign qualities to something, and then so that was interesting.
That's a good point you're bringing, yeah.
And that was interesting that you said it's like a long sentence. So then it's like, oh, similarly, the Quran of miraculous exposition also repeatedly ascribe that all this that you notice, experience, and observe must necessarily belong to an necessarily existent one. Ah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, please take it away.
So, okay. So, is the previous paragraph, maybe all the paragraphs are connected to this paragraph, and the way in which this is, I think, presenting it is that there's this sphere of, this extremities, right? At the extremities of the sphere of multiplicity, or let's say we're talking about, since the context was already set, those beings that are on the extremities, or those acts, right? Those particulars at the extremities, there's a kind of special emphasis going on for them. Okay, so at the extremities of the sphere of multiplicity, there is something special going on, such as sustenance, healing, particularly guidance and belief, which result in thanks, worship, etc., which was already said. So, saying that in this, because of this aim or emphasis on the beings on the extremities, and because the beings of the extremities are of such importance, and also as though validate or negate all of the wisdom of the universe, right? The rest of the tree, when we say extremities, meaning of the tree. So because of these beings, the whole universe and the whole tree has wisdom, which is kept in order. Because of that, there is a special emphasis there on things like sustenance, healing, guidance, and belief, which result in, by those beings, thanks and worship and gratitude and love, etc. And so the monarch of all beings, as he says there, then the Quran repeatedly, because of this, then makes an emphasis to say, do not ascribe others here, right? So giving this verse, God is the provider, the firm possessor of strength. So there should be no doubts, no confusion, and also a very strong connection made by those creatures at the extremities to be aware of this, and to acknowledge this, and to experience this. So, which results in the abode of bliss, which I think we started reading. I don't know if we finished it, but what I'm saying is that you know how sometimes we read in other sections. I'm just thinking out loud now. In other sections, we say, look, if we read that someone is not living with belief, they look at the world as being dark. They as though throw the whole world into an oblivion. Try and make, not try, but they turn the place into a place where all the beings get angry, curse them, or feel so angered by their presence and what they're doing. But here it's like it's constructing it from the other side. If you see, saying it's as though saying, starting from the tree, going to the extremities, and showing there that the extremities, whose the main dominical aims are concerned with, are the ones that it's concerned with. They're the most prepared for getting this, and because if they don't get it in their sphere, then nullifies the whole thing. And then goes into this paragraph, which is going even further and describing what goes on there. What goes on there is these, there's some kind of particular phenomenon like sustenance, healing, guidance, and belief, which these things result in, you I think you both said, the human response. That's right. That's how we see it. It's a human feeling, human engagement. In order, though, that there will be a non-ascribing to anything other than this one. So that when the Quran comes and states its message, it puts strong emphasis on this, not allowing for any other interference. So that it fulfills the aims, as was stated earlier.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. So if I may ask you, and this is my question also, as you said about the tree, how the author presents it, and going into the extremities of till the fruit. So by looking at the universe, does it show me, or can I arrive at this conclusion or this understanding that all these qualities that I'm seeing are the acts of the universe's creator?
Good point.
Because I know, okay, the Quran, that makes sense, but this is something I just wanted to make sure of, and I see. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Good question.
By definition, as you were saying, actually, there must be a correlation between the Quran, it is speech of God, and acts of God. So if you read it in the Quran, it must have, it is, if you like, parallel evidence in the creation. If there is something in the creation, it must have a parallel statements in the Quran, speech of God, because we cannot separate the speech from the acts. So they witness each other. Rather, speech guides guides human beings how to look at the universe. Universe also provides the evidence about the truthfulness of what is said in the speech. They demonstrate class teaching and lab practices. Exactly. So, in fact, we can read this text here as God says, I am creating the universe in this way that you cannot really find any other object that you can attribute to your thanks, worship, gratitude, love, praise, and worship. You cannot that, because there is no sign, there is no way that you can really find a gap so that you can direct your feelings, your gratitude, your worship, etc., your thanks to that point. it means it is drawing our attention. It is drawing our attention that the creation witnesses this. So I am telling you that you can understand from the creation, from my word, and you have to use your free will accordingly, not to deviate from your main characters, main nature. I think it is obvious. There is no need even to tell something more.
Thank you. So that is what actually what I was looking for. So we need both of those things. The universe as the evidence, and going back to the scripture is also needed. Going back and forth, and as you said, the universe points to that. And it shows that, but then I have to go and verify it and then go back and forth. There, I mean, I need both of them as a necessity for my human being to be at the peace or in this convincing kind of level.
So for example, if you may say, hey, can all the qualities that I observe here belong to the same source of existence I'm concluding? Or that's, do I have to go around the whole universe? So you then refer to scripture, and then that should answer the question. I mean, that's how I understood what your initial query was in reference to the verse, right? God is a provider, the firm possessor of strength. So in order to confirm that, the universe must also answer this.
So the universe must show that to me.
Must
demonstrate. Yeah, I should see that in the act of creation and see all these qualities. Do they belong to the things themselves, or
okay?
Then what source can they belong to?
Mm-hmm.
And Brother Ali, I think you left. There was a comment I think you were making about the satanic something. False ideas earlier in one of the paragraphs. I don't know if you want to complete that point.
I mean, it is clear that the Quran always prefers to speak in a symbolic way. So in such a way that everybody can understand by way of analogy, examples, physical examples. That's why Quran is full of prophetic narrations, the stories, because every ideology must be presented within a scenario that the human beings can visualize it so that it will stick to their mind. So when the Quran says, I have not given any authority to Satan, but he whispers all false, unrealistic things. So the universe also confirms this, that whatever Satan whispers to you in the teachings of the Quran, whatever of the scenario is presented to us like this Satan whispers you, and it comes to your mind, to your heart feelings, and it becomes an option. Now you can choose or reject it, but Quran also says Satan has no authority. It means he has no witness, no evidence whatsoever. Whatever he whispers you that it is true, because the universe is created in such a way that it completely rejects what the Satan offers you. But human free will needs an option in order to operate. So Satan only represents the option which has no evidence, no reality, and cannot convince human beings. Cannot convince human beings with the whisperings, because he has no base. And human capacity also cannot see or regard it as something real. That is the nature of the whispering. That is the nature of the alternative that we are expected to reject. That is why I said the creation witnesses that whatever takes me to the worship of God, to present my thanks, to present my gratitude, my love, my praise to anything. The creation is out there, doesn't allow me, if I really look at it seriously. But if I don't, of course, I will take as an opportunity to not follow the real way, worship God, but worship myself, which is absolutely nonsense, because I have no power to create anything. Why do you worship me? I am just using whatever is created for me. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. So inshallah, I think we can conclude for today.
We're gonna pick up from this part then.
Sure. So for the one Faria highlighted that paragraph next time, just before the in short.
Yes, the one who disturbs.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha.
Alrighty.